Kenya keeps hitting headlines on issues to do with crypto. The last I checked, I think we were at number 5 globally in the index actually of countries that hold crypto assets and other digital assets. What is driving this craze into this? Is it financial literacy? Is it digital transformation and adoption? Or we're basically just go-getters? I would say, yes, we are go-getters. And that's what we'll be talking about here today, the state of crypto adoption in Kenya and Africa by and large. I am Brian Jojotieno, NTV's in-house techie. You're right on time for TECHOVER, Africa's biggest tech show and conversation. We'll start you off as always with the tech news of the week before I get you just a person for that discussion right here on the show. Here's what's hot in the world of tech. Now, the one big thing that happened last week is the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill 2025, which was tabled on the floor of Parliament. The Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill 2025 is a legislative proposal in Kenya aimed at regulating the burgeoning digital asset sector, including cryptocurrencies and related services. The bill seeks to establish a comprehensive framework to oversee virtual assets activities, ensuring consumer protection, financial stability, and alignment with international standards. So, the bill defines a virtual asset as a digital representation of value that can be digitally traded or transferred and used for payment or investment purposes. It explicitly excludes digital representations of fiat currencies like e-money, securities, and other financial assets already regulated under existing laws. Entities wishing to operate as virtual asset service providers, VASPs, must obtain a license from designated regulatory authorities such as the Central Bank of Kenya (CBK) and the Capital Markets Authority (CMA). This ensures that only authorized providers can offer virtual asset services within the country. The bill mandates regulatory bodies to oversee VASPs, including licensing, supervision, and enforcement of compliance with anti-money laundering (AML) and counter-terrorism (CTF) measures. This oversight aims to mitigate risks associated with virtual assets. VASPs are also required to implement robust mechanisms to safeguard customer assets, maintain financial soundness, and ensure transparency in their operations. These measures are designed to protect consumers from potential losses and fraudulent activities. The bill applies to all VASPs offering services in Kenya, including both local and international entities. However, it exempts digital representations of value that operate within a closed ecosystem and are non-transferable or non-exchangeable outside that ecosystem. A notable aspect of the bill is the proposal of a 3% digital asset tax (DAT) on the transfer or exchange of virtual assets. This provision has sparked debate among stakeholders with concerns about its potential impact on innovation and investment in the digital asset space. So what are the knock-on effects of this bill should it pass? The enactment of this bill would position Kenya as a forward-thinking jurisdiction in the regulation of digital assets. And by establishing clear legal parameters, it aims to foster innovation while ensuring that virtual asset ecosystem operates within a secure and regulated environment. We will make a separate, dedicated episode to discuss it in depth with industry experts drawn from traders and the blockchain sector. Very well. Now you're up to speed with what's been happening in the world of tech. Time now for that conversation. I am joined by an official from Binance. Rachel joins me in her second time in Kenya to discuss the state of crypto adoption. Rachel, good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I am the Chief Marketing Officer for Binance. And what that means is that I'm responsible for driving all growth and new market entrants in over 100 countries that we operate in as part of the management team at Binance.
Lovely. You're looking at frontier markets, just as you've said. Africa, by and large, remains that big frontier market, but Kenya has had sort of a leapfrog from pre-COVID days. We were really ranking highly in crypto adoption. How do you see it from the global perspective where you sit as CMO at Binance?
You know, I'm in a privileged position in the role I'm in because I really get a bird's eye view and then a more intimate perspective on how things are working on the ground. And, you know, Africa as a continent and a region is one of the most exciting regions that we see at Binance. And Kenya specifically is a market that is so vibrant and adopting crypto at such a fast pace versus some of the other countries that we operate in. So, you know, we're very excited to be here on the ground, meeting the community, meeting the different stakeholders that make up this industry. You know, just to give you some kind of stats and some shaping on that, you know, over 2.7% of global trading volume is in sub-Saharan Africa. You have 4.4 million holders of crypto, you know, in Kenya alone. And other digital assets, which is incredible. And you have a population, 75% of your 54 million people globally, you know, are under 35. And as we look at the global trends, those are the generations and the cohorts that are really driving the adoption and the use cases. And not just as it pertains to holding crypto or trading crypto. It's really, you know, we're seeing incredible innovation and startups happening here on the ground in the blockchain space. One example of how Kenya is really putting itself on the map of the big markets globally that are adopting crypto and are creating new use cases for it.
You're spot on the numbers, and it's lovely that you're paying attention on the data that's being taken from Kenyan market, Sub-Sahara, and largely Africa comparatively to the world. And that has also got our government paying attention. So there's now heavy regulation coming on to the market, and we are seeing taxes being introduced on proceeds, on transfer fees, and the like. What's your sense around this regulation, and how should it be managed properly so that as many people can be adopted in this digital assets revolution?
You know, we at Binance are very pro-regulation. We're very lucky as the largest exchange globally to have over 21 licenses and growing. And for us, regulation is critical in order to drive more adoption. So we're really happy to see the local Kenyan government and regulator working to introduce a clear and transparent framework that helps ensure that we support the existing users and the OG community, and you know who they are, many viewers, I'm sure, of this show, but also to invite the next generation of users in. Because the more that we can extend that usage, the greater opportunity we see to integrate crypto and blockchain with everyday use cases. And that allows us to unlock the full potential and create so much opportunity, you know, with this category.
I keep joking about this in seminars and platforms that I speak in concerning artificial intelligence, and just how many conferences are being held in Africa about artificial intelligence, how to implement it, etc., etc. Certainly, the crypto world and digital wallets, no less, have been affected by this. What is the impact of AI in blockchain and Web3, which are some of the basic or the tenet premises by which crypto exists? What's the effect being like?
It's interesting. I see AI as a true companion to crypto and blockchain. There's so many use cases. From a marketing and design and creative perspective, we now use AI in our advertising and our marketing to ensure that we're able to localize as quickly as we need to connect with the local users. But more importantly, and I think something your users and viewers will be more interested in hearing about, is how we're using AI to make us smarter as it pertains to our security protocols, and how we're using AI to optimize the platform. And that's something that I think we're only at the nascent stages of that through our partnership. You know, we have some of the leading experts internally at Binance on AI, and we're also working externally, you know, with those consultants to ensure that we're using AI to optimize the user experience. Everything from how you onboard to, you know, your security on the platform, to even the trading choices on which tokens or assets that you decide to invest in. And for me personally, I think obviously it needs to be managed in the right way, but it opens up huge potential for us to bring crypto to more users.
And when you speak about security, there's certainly been a lot of exposure to fraud, illicit financial flows, and the like. What are you doing to curb this, especially on your platform? Because surveillance has really been heightened, and now with AI and deepfakes and all that, there's a lot of exposure towards fraud, illicit financial flows, you name it. How are you countering money laundering and such kind of things on the platform?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Unfortunately, scams are part of our modern society, not just in crypto and blockchain, but in traditional finance and other categories as well. And it's something that we take really seriously at Binance. We really have set new standards for security benchmarks. We have over 750 compliance and legal individuals that are working with local governments. Over 100 of them are experts in cybersecurity that are working. I think we answered over 46,000 queries over the last 2 years, working with local law enforcement to ensure we help them stop and hinder those scams when they're happening. But also from a prevention perspective, because it's not just about mitigation of the scam when it happens, it's about prevention. And a big part of what we're trying to do is educate. Like that's 50% of what my team does, is ensuring that we're sharing with users how they can do their own research, how they can put the right multi-factor authentication on their accounts to ensure that they have full control, of their accounts, and if anything is happening, that they are not being led down, the wrong journey.
I'm sure this is data that you have about the sub-Saharan Africa and the level of financial inclusion. A lot of us in the sub-Saharan Africa still remain largely unbanked, and while Kenya has really caught up well in crypto adoption, there's still a huge population, a huge addressable market that needs to be targeted with this. What are some of the challenges you're seeing towards adoption of crypto? And number two is that because crypto basically is an alternative to the fiat currency that we have and the traditional banking and money transfer systems, how are you possibly seeing them being included without necessarily going to open bank accounts and the like?
I think fiat and crypto lives alongside each other. It's a diversification. It's not necessarily an alternative. But on that topic of financial literacy and education, one of the reasons I joined this industry and I joined Binance is because there's still 1.6 people unbanked globally. And blockchain and crypto has the opportunity, billion people, which is frightening when you think about it.
After Africa, where's the biggest disparity? Sorry to...
South Asia, Latin America, it's what's frightening is it's everywhere. And that is something that we need to take seriously. So for us, a big focus and the principle which our founders started Binance was on this concept of financial freedom and democratizing finance and being able to put products in the hands of users and meet them where they are. So a big focus, going back to, I'm going to be a broken record here, because education is critical to that, and ensuring that through Binance Academy, which is our online platform, we have over 43 million people avail of the masterclasses and the tutorials on that. You're educating people on the right way to enter into this space. I do want to commend Kenya. I was here 6 years ago first, and even in the last 6 years to see about the digitization of society here, and with M-Pesa and with Safaricom and other companies really building the right infrastructure, we should be able to extend digital financial products to everyone in a short space of time by the ecosystem working together.
Great. Speaking of women in tech, this is the second last question. I am particularly elated that Binance is adopted a proper gender parity issue, and it's a beautiful thing that you are the CMO and I've met other officials who are basically women. Talk to us about the role of women in this crypto business and just how they are also playing a very vital part, other than just being there as women in crypto and the like. If you have some people behind the scenes doing the UI UX designs and all that kind of things, just talk to us about the role of women in crypto in this.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We have 6,000 people at Binance globally. I think nearly 2% of them are African nationals, actually. But what's really important about that, and the reason that's important for us, is it's not just about gender, it's also about designing for the local needs. So, our management team is 37% female, our organization is 40% female, and my team, marketing, growth and ops, is 51%, so indexing a little bit over. And really why we have that is so we're designing objectively products and services and communications and education and content that resonates with the users, because we are probably one of the most multicultural user bases you're going to meet. And we need to, as a user-centric financial platform, we need to ensure that we're always keeping our users' needs and desires top of mind. And if we don't have the individuals who understand how those users think and what makes them tick and and anticipates their demand, we're never going to be able to be the full-service platform we want to be at a global level.
Lastly, this is a blank check. Write what you want. The future of crypto. There's Web3, there's blockchain, AI is here. Now there is agentic AI. Talk to us about the future, how you see it, and how it's going to shape the financial world as we close.
Wow, this is a big question. I saved the best till last. Look, I think this industry, I always look 3 to 6 months in advance. 2024 was a watershed moment for our industry. We saw the institutional investment drive regulatory clarity, drive innovation. What I'm really excited about is if I'm back here in Kenya next year and I get to meet the next generation of startups and founders that are using this technology and putting it to work to solve real life use cases and real problem statements in the industry. And I think that's it's not far off. I'm going to speculate that we'll probably, with clear regulation here, with a very, very clear content plan and good local partnerships and good community initiatives, we'll be able to double the usage of crypto in this country and create a lot of economic opportunity, because that's something that we're excited by.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for speaking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right, we'll be speaking to Rachel, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Binance, and she's just been talking to us about the state of crypto adoption in Africa and more particularly in Kenya. And those are interesting numbers and initiatives that are coming along. Time now for that short break. Don't go too far. You're watching TECHOVER. Welcome back to TECHOVER. You're watching Africa's biggest tech conversation and show. Time now to know who our innovator this week is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your segment, Startup of the Week. Artificial intelligence innovation is fast affecting and impacting all industries, among them fashion. For instance, a Kenyan stylist and fashion founder, Ria Anna, has heavily deployed AI in fashion and equally fusing it with sustainability.
Sustainability is such a big word, and I feel like it's used so often that we need to be specific. So my focus is on hyper-local approach. We work from the crop stage and we integrate craft and hand techniques throughout the entire process, from that crop stage all the way to your closet. And so it really is the marriage between technology, and technology comes into it during my design process, with that and pairing it with ancient craft and traditional heritage techniques that we can find in both Kenyan lineage and Indian lineage, because I'm both. So I have been creating fashion since I was about 13 years old, but I founded the brand Lila Bear about 8 years ago. Yeah, it's always been part of my DNA, something that I always felt compelled to do and work on. So ever since I can remember, I've been taking my existing clothes to my tailors and saying, cut it up this way, cut it up that way.
Textile and fashion industry innovations have stalled to some extent. We sought to understand her inspiration to use tech in an industry that hasn't exploited artificial intelligence or technology, no less.
The passion for technology is the thing that helps spark this idea in me. What is the way that we can introduce green technology approaches, and how can that contribute to the sustainability aspect of Lila Bear and the brand and the way that we create clothing? And with the development and I guess the surge of AI that's happening, there's been a lot of technological advancements that relate to the fashion industry, and that's something that as soon as I learned about its creation and it was accessible to me, I threw myself into it to learn how to get involved and leverage the power of technology.
Ria disclosed that AI has helped manage operational costs and efficiency as it's deployed into the design works and costing for fabric use.
On the one hand, using technology allows me to design in both 2D and 3D simultaneously. And it allows me then to really and truly have power over exactly how a fabric is cut, for example, or exactly how we place that sleeve or place that print. The control is there, and as a designer, my service is to present my ideas in a tangible form that people can wear every day. So I feel like that's a really important part of it. But then beyond that, things like sizing, for example, and this is really where generative AI comes into play within the technology space that I work in. I can digitally forecast how we are going to size the garments over someone of any size. They could be 7'2" or 500 pounds, and we would still be able to simulate how a garment would behave on someone like that. So, and then it comes into what I think of as the phygital, right? Turning that digital idea and that design into the tangible. It makes it that much easier. So we've actually been able to reduce our in-house waste by over 65% just by the implementation of digital technologies. It allows me to experiment without actually having to use resources for those fabrics, for those buttons, for even the tailors and the artisans' time is so much more optimized because we're using technology. I come to them with something that's 95% ready to hit the market.
So does using tech and AI in her work have downturns?
It's such an interesting thing. When I first started implementing technology and AI into my into the digital process of design and bringing that to artisans who use only handcraft and ancient craft techniques, there was an initial sort of resistance, maybe a skepticism of how is it that this thing that you've made on the computer can inform how we're going to make the thing. It also means that my designs are that much more complex. And so when I'm introducing designs that I've created in digital to my team, there's almost a sense of like, can this even be done? And so that was the initial resistance. But what I've found over the process of creating multiple collections now this way, the sense of fulfillment, having achieved that thing, created that thing, facing the challenge head on, my team is that much more driven. And so they've really adopted this process despite their skepticism. So it's really interesting to see how we've turned that initial barrier or that veil and that challenge into something that they really look forward to seeing what I come up with next.
Globally, AI has been deployed in fashion conglomerates like H&M, Tommy Hilfiger that use AI to create collection based on customer preferences. Some of the key benefits in AI in fashion include AI's ability to analyze trends, colors, and styles from vast datasets to generate new and innovative designs, and AI-powered recommendation engines suggesting outfits based on customer preference, past purchases, and body type. Using AI has earned her major endorsements globally, as strategic partners are now coming on board. Ria admits that even with all these advancements in technology, she has to merge human effort and AI to achieve desired results, but maintain professionalism and keep her business afloat. And that's our founder this week. All right, let's finish off with the tech tip of the week. Here's your DIY, and then we'll just close the show at that point.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Tech Tip of the Week. Today we shall be discussing how you can improve your security online. The first one is regarding passwords. You should not create passwords which are easy to guess. Consider creating complex passwords which are not easy to guess, and you can do this by the help of password managers. There are so many password managers out there. A good example is the Google Password Manager, which you can just find within Google Chrome. These will create good passwords for you and also store them for you. The other tip is ensuring that you have two-step verification on all your social media accounts. Having this enabled will reduce the risk of your accounts being hacked, as once you try to log in and put in your password, it will always require another type of verification, such as sending a code to your phone or an email. And the last tip is avoiding connecting to public Wi-Fis. And in fact, do not access sensitive information when you're connected to public Wi-Fis. For example, do not access banking apps or any other sensitive information. If you really need to connect to public Wi-Fis, consider connecting to a VPN first, as this will keep you secure. I hope you learned something new. That's it for this week, and see you in the next one.
Fair enough, that's a good point to leave it at. We've been talking about the state of crypto in the world and in Kenya, and just how you are playing a part. And if you didn't know, by the way, you are playing a very, very big part. So if you're a trader in digital assets, you're ranking at around, Kenya is ranking at around number 5 globally right now. And that's a huge thing to be proud about globally. And that's why these global organizations are taking a keen interest in our culture, in our way of doing things. And that's why they're tailoring all these things for us. Time now to leave and to end the show at that point. Thank you so much for always making time for us on Takeover. We really appreciate. I'm Brian Jojotieno, NTV's in-house techie. Stay techie and may tech live forever.